let's start it off because you guys, for some reason, I don't know why you're stuck in the mud on this, feel like Tyrod Taylor stands. You want Tyrod Taylor playing? Well, I'll start with Bobby. You want Tyrod Taylor playing the next 2 weeks?
No, I kind of wanted Tommy DeVito to play once they went to him. My whole thing was that Tyrod Taylor is better at quarterback than Tommy DeVito and basically every facet of the game. But once you went to Tommy DeVito, it should have been about his development. And instead, they benched him the first chance they got him. They coached him afraid of interceptions. And now you're in this weird situation where you lied to the locker room for kind of no reason.
Yeah, so I'm with you on that. And to me, I also think they almost very luckily got the kind of effort from Tyrod Taylor in the second half where they can go back to Tommy DeVito, which is why I think Dable didn't name a starter yet. But more on that in a second. Justin, where are you at with the whole idea here of DeVito versus Taylor?
I was a lot more emotional about it a couple weeks ago when Tyrod Taylor was eligible to come back for the Packer game, that I felt that Tyrod gave the Giants the best chance to win. And now, man, like, I'm a fan. And, Bobby, I'm sure Bobby has some opinions about, kind of maybe taking this from, well, this decision could, in caving to fan pressure with staying with DeVito, could that mean something for other decisions in the franchise? Sean, I'm going to be honest, and I'll be honest with everybody. I'm ready for this to be over. I'm ready for this to be over. I am way more emotionally invested in, number one, I'm way more emotionally invested in if Wink Martindale stays or not, which I know we're going to talk about.
Yep.
But also, I'm way more emotionally invested in let's actually find the franchise quarterback so we never, Joe Shane, Brian Dable, never has to deal with any of this unique situation ever again. I'm just done with it. Done.
All right, so obviously there's plenty of listeners out there. We're in the New York market where, college football's not top of mind, and they deep dive before the draft and all of that. I happen to enjoy college football. You guys do a great job building up into the whole draft process on Talking Giants. Again, we're talking to Bobby Skinner, Justin Panic at Talking Giants. To me, that was my biggest takeaway yesterday. Forget the missed tackles, and we'll get the Wink Martindale, the DeVito-Taylor stuff. And again, I would develop DeVito because at least, again, backup quarterbacks are paramount. Despite all the holes the Giants have, the deciding factor on why they cannot beat the Eagles or Cowboys is they don't have an elite quarterback. And say what you want about Dak and Hurts, those teams do. And you're not going to get an elite quarterback in free agency. What has happened recently in the NFL feels to be drying up a little. Point to the elite quarterback you're going to find this offseason. If you are going to stink this bad and be in the top 5 of the draft, even if it involves trading up a couple more places, to me, and I'll start with you, Bobby, first, I think that's going to be numero uno on the Giant priority list. Is you're picking this high for a reason, go take care of the quarterback position.
Yeah, and we don't know where they'll end up and, how the QB carousel works out. But right now they'd be 5th. That is the number one priority. But this is where I get frustrated with the DeVito thing, is that at no point was DeVito show anything that was a better quarterback than Tyrod Taylor. There's never been any point. Every number, the eye test passes all of that Tyrod Taylor is the better quarterback. Then you bench, you essentially, you don't bring back in Tyrod Taylor. You're saying, okay, well, it's about development because it's not about who's the best player. Why did they bench Tommy DeVito if it was about player development? To me, it shows that they kind of are trying to fan pressure when they really didn't care about his development. They've seen what they've had. He wasn't good at any point besides the Packers game. That's why I get frustrated. It sends mixed signals to the locker room. And,
the only pushback, Bobby, hold on. The only pushback I'll give, and I think it was kind of proven to be wrong, but their mindset, and I'm sure you've seen some of the people still debate this, is on top of developing DeVito, it's still about developing other guys. And if he is not making decisions to get the ball out high, Wan'Dale Robinson, this, that, and the other, if it's hurting the development of other important guys on the offense yesterday and that sparked the team, that's one thing. But all that Tyrod Taylor basically did was just feed the ball to Darius Slayton, who doesn't need any more development.
Yeah, they played the worst player for 2 weeks. Now, luckily for them, they got one win out of it in the Packers game against Joe Barry's defense. But they continued, what area can Tommy DeVito be better than Tyrod Taylor?
Well, Bobby, I will push back, man. I'm going to push back on that. Tyrod Taylor's the better player, yes. But there's not a wide enough gap. Tyrod Taylor lets him uncork from deep, and I get that. Tommy DeVito stunk those first couple of weeks at the short stuff. He was kind of deep ball or bust. He got better at that in the Packer game. Tyrod Taylor, I'm sorry, I still think his intermittent game stinks. And by the way, I think Tommy DeVito makes better decisions on when to run and not to run. So there's parts of the game that I like better from DeVito. I really do.
Yeah, I don't. The running, Tyrod's a much more efficient runner besides, the design runs. And is a better runner when he does it. Tommy DeVito took sacks worse than anybody in the NFL. When you look at all the metrics, Tyrod is not very good. He's in the 20s, but DeVito's in the 40s, and that's where my gripe is that a quarterback who they really never saw as a legitimate backup option, they played to me because of they didn't want to deal with the backlash after winning 2 games in a row versus the Commanders and the Patriots. Because if they actually thought that there was something there to be developed with Tommy DeVito, they wouldn't have coached him so deathly afraid of turning the ball over, and they wouldn't have pulled him all out after one bad half. And you look at the Saints, it was a bad game offensively, but that was probably his second best game of just actually playing the quarterback position and not, playing the Commanders who were, playing some of the worst defense I've seen in a few years.
Bottom line is this. The team is not going to get any better until they figure out how to score points, and that starts with the quarterback, which we also all believe in. All right. You guys, I know, have loved Wink Martindale. I have too. Yesterday might have been the first time where I, even to a man, would have said and walked away saying, you know what? If this thing doesn't work out with Dable and Wink Martindale, I might actually be okay. The Santa sexy dice crap where he's running 3 stack guys at the same basically guard. I think I am more comfortable with Wink Martindale being gone than I think I would have been 2 weeks ago. Where do you guys stand? Start with Justin.
I feel like he can get a good defensive coordinator in here. My issue is, why did this go bad, right?
Yeah.
Was this because of the way Dable acts, behind the building? Is he unhinged towards coaches, right? Does he not show respect? Because there is negatives and positives on Wink Martindale. I think, he's proven in the NFL once he gets his personnel, he's able to do really well. But the other styles have worked really well, too. Leslie Frazier with him in Buffalo did really well. Patrick Graham, who was originally supposed to be the defensive coordinator, they have the number 8 defense over in Las Vegas with pretty bad talent. So to me, it's not even all the way about, is Wink Martindale the best defensive coordinator? To me, it's more of, why did this go sour and why did it get so bad coming off of a playoff win?
Justin?
Yeah, I'm with Bobby, where it's not so much about the performance of Wink Martindale, but it's looking at how does Brian Dable interact with the staff. And I was even reflecting today about Dable supposedly one of the things that we heard about when he was hired is when he was at Alabama and when he's in Buffalo, he's inviting players over to his house for dinner, and he's really a coach's coach. And we heard about the country club training camp that was this past summer when we were when everybody was there. I think you guys even talked about it on this station. And hearing how now that there's losing and now that there's adversity, hearing that Dable could, behind the scenes, not be the same way with his coaches and not be the same way. Maybe he's getting more on their case, and maybe there's more gripe there with some of these coaches and coordinators, which there could be gripes with somebody like, hey, with Joe Judge and Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett was not a positive. I view Wink Martindale as a positive for the Giants. So the fact that there's such a gripe there, that the fact that there were rumors a couple weeks ago where he couldn't even last the season, I think that's a bad thing. So it's not only about, is Wink Martindale the best guy for the job? It's about Brian Dable finally, second year dealing with adversity, and now we're talking about a good defensive coordinator possibly leaving the team. That's a huge red flag on Brian Dable right now.
All right, 2 weeks left in the season. I'm going to start with Justin, then we'll go to Bobby again. Justin Pennick, Bobby Skinner talking Giants. Season's over, team's eliminated. Daniel Jones, injured all over the place, really didn't take a step forward before he got hurt. Evan Neal, what the heck happened to him with this ankle injury out for the year? I'm going to eliminate these two guys from the conversation because, to me, they're the two answers. Who is the Giant you are most disappointed in 2023? Justin.
Part of me wants to say Darren Waller, but that's not it's not solely because of Darren Waller. And the Darren Waller conversation is one that's really interesting for this offseason, because you can look at his year objectively and say, at one point when he was healthy, he was like leading the league in receiving yards for tight ends. Or he was really up there. And then he gets hurt, kind of comes back, and he's dropping some balls, but he still has some good plays here and there. I don't think you look at Darren Waller's season and say it was an absolute failure because of how bad the offensive line, how bad the offense, and how bad the quarterback has been for him. But you could look at next year and say, is the body still going to be there? Is, kind of like look at how Kenny Golladay fell off. Bobby's talked about this on our show. Look at how Kenny Golladay fell off.
His Waller
body
becomes
from
Galladay's second year. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean his body from 2021 to 2022, where Galladay's 2021 wasn't a disaster, but it certainly was disappointing. So, for all the expectations that we had on Darren Waller in training camp and how he looked good, he was dominating every day that he was out there. The only days that he wasn't dominating is because he was getting veteran rest days. So I'm going to say for all the expectations that we had for all these Giants and this Giants team this year, I'm going to say that Waller is the most disappointing one because he was supposed to be the guy that really led it in the passing game.
Before I get Bobby's answer, just an anecdote because I haven't given this on Waller all show. The other issue I have with Darren Waller, and again, yesterday Taylor hits him in stride, the whole deal. A common theme from Darren Waller when he's played this year, it is as if a ball is not thrown perfectly to him, he cannot make a play. He never makes a play in a catch radius. Every ball has to be perfectly thrown to him or it is not a catch. Bobby?
Yeah, it's tough when you take out Daniel Jones and Evan Neal. Dory Jackson would probably be the most singular player, but I'm going to say just the interior offensive line as a whole. It feels like nobody really grew at all. John Michael Schmitz, I think he's put together a baseline of a guy who I think is going to be solid in the NFL, but you didn't see any growth from his game. Ben Bredesen took a step back. Mark Lewinsky got benched. And then Josh Azudu, we really didn't see any growth from him from camp to the games happened until he was put a tackle and they got injured. Marcus McKeithen couldn't even block the right guy half the time. And, you look at Evan Neal, people give Tyrod Taylor a lot of crap for that last play of the half versus the Bills. Evan Neal totally blocks the wrong guy on it. Yeah. He blocks it. That's a touchdown, and we don't talk about it, which I'm going to turn this into not a player. It's Bobby Johnson, the offensive line coach. I do not like going after position coaches because you don't know much until you're in the room, but there's been no evidence of good development from there and all the evidence of bad development, and that's a serious issue for the Giants, and I feel like that needs to be issue number one addressed in the offseason as the offensive line coach.
All right. So for both of you guys, going forward, we addressed who obviously was the biggest problem this year or the most disappointing. Bobby, we'll start with you on this. A home run Giants offseason features what three things?
Getting the quarterback who they truly believe is a franchise quarterback, not drafting a quarterback who they just think is a good quarterback. Adding legit offensive line pieces and depth, and then prioritizing the edge room. I really feel like, Kayvon has done a lot of good things. Does need to become more consistent, but he's shown a lot. You really don't have any edge help out there. Aziz is injury prone. And then after that, you have really no pass rushers. You have all run defenders, and none of them are particularly good at that point either. So pass rush is an underrated need for this Giants team.
Justin?
I'll add with quarterback. So that's the dream, right?
Well, that's why I'm asking you that, too. I'm hoping that everybody's starting to get on the same page here. That's the theme I'm starting to pound here, is enough is enough with figuring this out. Get the quarterback.
Obviously, quarterback. Now, I mean, hey, there's a much more nuanced conversation of I don't want them to just take a quarterback for the sake of taking a quarterback.
For sure. But that's the point. They're going to be high enough where if you have to make a trade-up to make sure you get the guy you get, then you do it.
Right. And if there is that guy, then don't hesitate. Do it like they did with Allen in Buffalo. So quarterback number one, obviously that's the dream, but I'm even willing to be patient if it's like, hey, we don't view that quarterback here. If they need to make another bridge move with Daniel Jones or even adding another guy via free agency just to get through this year, I'm willing to stay patient with this coach because I legitimately do believe in Brian Dable, and I want to believe in Joe Shane, but we got to start drafting better. So number two, I'll say getting like a legit outside corner to pair with Deonte Banks. I feel like that would be awesome. That's like dream offseason, and I'm a big fan of.
By the way, I haven't liked the way Adoree Jackson's played of late. I know we're more pro Adoree Jackson, all three of us. I am not sure that Adoree Jackson's breaking the bank in free agency anywhere else. By the way,
no.
I would not necessarily rule him coming back.
I'm not ruling him coming back either, but I would like to upgrade, and I'm a guy that I believe like the James Bradbury contract was a success for the Giants. Maybe they should have kept him, but he may have not fit what Wink Martindale was going to do. Adoree Jackson, I view that contract as a success as well. I'm a fan of going out there in free agency and even if it's overspending and overpaying on corners, do it, because that position, just as much as kind of quarterback and maybe even interior offensive line, that's a position that if you draft in the draft, it's such a crapshoot. Like, you can draft a guy in the first round and, those guys could bust, and sometimes you could find guys like Tariq Woolen on day 3 and they could hit immediately. So I'm a fan of going out there and spending on corner and free agency. And then number 3, I would love to find an outside wide receiver that we can possibly project as a number 1. And not just, Hyatt. I love Hyatt, and I think he's going to be, for his role as a speed guy, as a threat, and as a weapon, I think Hyatt's going to be a good NFL player. But I want it, even if it's the second or the third round of the draft, preferably maybe even the second, because this wide receiver class seems to be pretty deep, get a guy in here that's wow, this guy is a route-running technician. He can get open. He can get separation. He's so crafty with the way that he runs his routes. So that's those 3 things are my dream little offseason. Outside corner, opposite of Adoree Jackson, a quarterback, and a wide receiver that we can possibly project as a number 1 route runner.
And I specifically asked for 3, and I'm happy that Bobby and Justin each gave those 3, because the theme, again, all those things are attainable in one offseason. We'll make the team a perfect team, but it is everything that they can get. All right, so this is Justin Panic, Bobby Skinner, Talking Giants is the podcast.
Hey, we got breaking news.
Oh, here we go. What do you got?
Matt
Is it real breaking news?
Matt Barkley signed to the Jacksonville Jaguars per Tim Flora.
Okay, there. They have signed Matt Barkley, the Jaguars. Wow, I thought you were making that up. Tim from Florida first.
Tim from Florida.
Art Staples.
Well, I have a question for Bobby too.
Yeah. By the way, good break on the glass there, Emmanuel.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was a flush. I thought we had flushed out. Well, how does it feel to be the most hated man in the tri-state area now that you basically dissed on Tommy DeVito for the last 20 minutes?
Ooh.
Oh, I love Tommy DeVito. I love Tommy Cutlass. He's just really bad at quarterback.
You really want to be hated? Call Aaron Rodgers a pig and then see what happens.
Oh, that's a little much.
Yeah, well, I did that last week. Okay, Bobby, Justin, thank you so much for joining us again. Everywhere podcasts are available, Talking Giants. Check out that JM Football channel on John Boy. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye. The best. Justin, Bobby from Talking Giants. All right, when we come back, I got some thoughts on football on Christmas Day.